Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Opportunity. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. That says, send help. Friend wants to wear this to a wedding. Please help. A friend and I are attending a black tie wedding. I'm the +1. Without hesitation, I've already selected a standard tux and plan to add my own flair. However, the dresses my friend is selecting worry me. She's convinced the bride, who is marrying one of the friend's college pals, won't be angry about this dress appearing at any of her events. I won't go into any backstory, but suffice to say, this isn't the only white dress she sent me. It is, unfortunately, the only remaining white dress she says she's going to buy and bring anyway, to not just one, but 2 separate weddings. Apparently, my word as gay bestie and fashion etiquette experience with weddings means very little to her. I suspect she knows it won't fly, as she refuses to send photos of any of her pics to relevant maid of honor or bridesmaids for the 2 upcoming weddings. So please, internet strangers, help me convince her otherwise. It's a stunning spring/summer dress, just not for a wedding or wedding-related events, where she is not the bride. Hope you have a picture of the dress. Basically, it's just a white flowing dress. The podcast uses, the post describes it as the dress is a white flowing dress, pretty much a bridal dress. Now, I'm not a fashion person or anything like that, and I don't know about dresses, but I'm not keen on that dress. Now, if someone was telling me, don't wear that dress, don't wear that because it might come across as disrespectful to the bride, the groom, the wedding itself, I'd be like, okay, I absolutely won't do that. The fact that she won't send pictures to the maid of honor or bridesmaids is concerning in itself, that she almost knows that it won't go well, so I'm not going to send it to them. I'm just going to randomly turn up into it. Like it's going to make any difference. They're still going to look at you like, what the fuck are you doing? A commenter says to OP, genuinely give her an ultimatum. You don't need to go down with this ship. OP says, I think I have to. I don't see this as normal behavior and I refuse to be seen standing next to someone in a white dress who isn't the bride. Blessed Tangerine says no, it's definitely white. I also don't think it's formal enough if you're wearing a tux, if this was a different color. Honestly, you could give her an ultimatum since you're the +1. Tell her to get an appropriate dress that you approve. I'm sorry that she's not taking your advice. I would. You sound very knowledgeable on fashion. Opie says, so glad to know I'm not crazy. I'm hoping this post will disabuse her of the idea. That of course assumes there's not malicious intent, which after reading some of these responses, I'm starting to feel like there's even more to the story than I've been told. Sigh. Commenter says, oh no. She's refusing to send pics to the maid of honors. Was she asked to? That sounds like it's not just ignorant, but malicious. Opie says, yep, starting to wonder about that now. I'm realizing this might have been a blind spot for me because of the friendship. She's not generally petty or malicious, but she can be wildly ignorant at times. Bubbly says, I've seen this dress 100 times on different sites in 100 different colors. She hates the bride, right? Opie says, I'm going to have to do some sleuthing. Ignorance is one thing, but yes, after reading the responses, I cannot see this as her simply being ignorant about etiquette. She's too smart for that. Destiny says, I showed this to my straight 40-plus-year-old husband, this dress, and asked what he would think about your friend. He said that she's an attention slur. So even if men are thinking that badly, then you can only imagine what women will be thinking. Don't be shocked if she ends up with a nasty red wine stain, along with the whispers and dirty looks. I just don't get it. Like, if you do have a problem with bride, if this is what it turns out to be, why would you go down this route? It just seems like something that's always going to backfire spectacularly in front of everyone and just embarrass yourself. But maybe that's not the case. Opie comes in with a mini update and says, I think she already owns the dress, but she won't confirm. And that is from 2 years ago. She's almost certainly bringing it if I don't make an ultimatum. Fair warning, you all might be witnessing the rapid end of a very close friendship in real time. There's more to the story and I'm learning more by the minute. Commenter says, is she the ex? This is vengeful in my opinion. Opie says she said no, but that is not the story. I'm being told by others. A moth says, my god, you do not need to bail out of these weddings. The bride and groom of those weddings want you there. Surely there is someone else who can be your +1. Opie replies saying, I'm only the +1 for the first, but I am fully invited guest in my own right to the second. This dress is going to haunt me. It's lit the fuse on what looks like a friendship ending kaboom. Commenter says, do you know the bride yourself also? If so, tell them. Opie says, great minds. I've worn the bridal party for the second wedding, as I have other friends involved. The second bride is much less assertive, so I didn't hesitate to let her Wolfpack know. Wolfpack, holy moly. OP comes in with an update and says thank you to everyone who's responded. Seriously, this has been such an eye-opening moment. I'm not attending the wedding with my ex-friend. It's amazing how blind one can become when an individual is so good at compartmentalizing his or her life. Turns out she's in an ex-situationship of both grooms with messy history. Fully hidden from me until now. My ex-friend was aware we had mutuals among the groups, but she severely underestimated how close I remained to those mutuals to this day. Apparently she lied to me repeatedly regarding our friendships with the grooms and several groomsmen across both wedding parties. I have zero issues with this except the fact that lying to me and choosing white dresses is, as one commenter correctly stated, some of the tackiest friend behavior I've endured as an adult. I don't care who she's been with or what their relationships are like now, but I refuse to be dragged into any dramatic shenanigans. The white dress choice was intentional and malicious. She then went on to all but admit to inviting me as a +1 to the first wedding because she can't afford the hotel or sightseeing, unrelated to the wedding, on her own, and was or is only attending the second wedding as I already have accommodations nearby. So in less than 2 hours, one little help me the dress is wrong post has brought years of lying, financial misuse, and poor behavior to our mutual friends to light. I'm not sticking around long enough to knowingly experience any more. The stories from others are still surfacing. I cannot believe I was so blinded. Another commenter said something akin to, I love how this sub supports brides, and boy, am I grateful for the community that not only helped me prove a point, but helped use a dress choice to expose behavior I will not tolerate in a friend I thought I had made for life. I'll leave you with this nugget. In response to my ultimatum, she made statements to the effect that she assumed I would just go along with it because I'm her close friend, not theirs. No ma'am, I will not. Easiest choice to end the friendship I've ever had. Thank you, r/wedding attire approval, for the inadvertent level up. Opie also had some final comments, saying another tidbit. She never met the first bride and was, maybe is still, almost certainly planning on wearing the white dress to the wedding. I've worn the maid of honor, who I did not know, but wowee was she grateful. She tried to head me off getting more information, but everyone saw right through it. I've been up in a little tower being fed only what she wanted me to see apparently. Opie adds, lol, I might actually still be going to the first wedding even though I was the +1. I've made a few new friends with members of that bridal party. Notified the maid of honor without hesitation once I found out it was intentional. A commenter said to OP, I just saw this after the update and I have to know, did the grooms invite her to these weddings? Who invites ex-situationships to their wedding? OP says the grooms absolutely did, independently. Second bride was aware and is more than secure in herself. I don't know the first bride, but based off what I can tell, she is not one to be messed with. Both of these numbnuts are messy as fuck, no matter how you sling it. Commenter says, I guess she brought it when the grooms started dating the women they're now marrying. Opie says even worse, it means she brought it the year and season the engagement was announced. Who'd have thought says, I want to know how she was locked out of both events, and also who sacrificed their wine. Opie says, alas, the situation is still unfolding in real time. Both wedding parties are aware of the behavior, while I've stepped away to let them handle it without my unsolicited 2 cents. We have almost a month until the first wedding. If I can update further without absolutely giving away identities or being a complete jerkhole myself, I won't hesitate to do so. Oh mate, that is so messy and these weddings could absolutely blow up with what's going on there. I mean, what? Like one of the commenters saying, having your ex-situationships at your wedding as well, inviting them. Again, wanting to turn up to a wedding in a white dress, trying to upstage people, being malicious about it. People are not going to be looking at you in a good way. They're going to be thinking, what the fuck are you doing? It's just all so wild, isn't it? We're definitely going to have to keep an eye out for those weddings that will come up at some point. But bloody hell, what do you guys make of this so far? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from OKLobster6319 from the Off My Chest subreddit. It has a trigger warning on it of possible bigotry, so if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. And it's titled, "My fiance and I are having the biggest argument of our lives. She thinks I'm being tacky, but I think she's overreacting. I don't know if I'm going crazy or what, but my fiance are having a huge argument. We, 27 male, 26 female, aren't even married yet, and we've never had an argument like this before in our entire relationship. In my home province, engaged couples host a party before their wedding. People call it different things, a social or a Jack and Jill or a stage and dough. The purpose is for the couple to raise money. The couple rent a hall or some other venue. People pay an entrance fee, and there are raffles and/or games and/or a silent auction. Family and friends of the couple donate the prizes. They bring food for a potluck and alcohol so drinks can be sold at the party. My fiance says this is the tackiest thing she's ever heard of and doesn't want us to have one. She refuses. She said it is the height of rudeness to hold a party where the guests have to pay to attend, donate prizes and money, and bring the food and alcohol. It's common to invite people to this if you are close to them as friends, but not close enough to invite them to your wedding. But my fiance almost exploded when she found out. She says there is no way we are having one, and we'll have the wedding and honeymoon we can afford. I don't know what her problem is. I've been to a ton of these in my life. Everyone I know has gotten married has had one. My fiance said they don't have this in her home province, and she's never heard of it before. I don't know if it's common in the province her and I currently live in or not. I went back home to my cousin's stag and dough when my fiance and I had just gotten together, but my fiance said she thought a stag and dough was a joint bachelor and bachelorette party. Since my cousin's wife was pregnant and this was the second wedding for both of them, I never said anything because I thought my fiance knew what it was. I don't see why she is refusing to have one or digging in heels so much. My family and friends keep asking about when we're going to have ours. They think it'd be weird to not have one. My fiance's family and friends agree with her. I swear I've never argued with anyone about anything so much in my life, and it's really starting to get to me. I think she's overreacting, and I'm tired of arguing." A top commenter said to OP, "OP, you need someone to give you advice who comes from a culture where getting married is a community event, where the whole purpose is coming together and helping the newlyweds with money gifts to get started on their new life. Too many ignorant white people here judging a custom I don't have myself in my culture, but I can relate to the spirit of it because on the wedding day, there is a ceremony where guests pin money on the groom and put golden necklaces or rings or other valuable jewelry on the bride. Your fiancé is ignorant to your culture. That is the problem. She is centering her beliefs as the norm and is not able to acknowledge that what she feels like is tacky is a well-known tradition that you seem to value, and I do too from what you have described. Your fiancé should come down from a high horse and have a talk with you as to why she is so ignorant to your tradition. And you guys need to have a talk about traditions you value, especially with raising kids if you plan to have any, and traditions she values and to see if you have similar values." OP's only comment in this post is, "I apologize for any misunderstanding, but I'm confused. My fiancé and I are both white. We're Canadian, and both sets of her grandparents and both sets of my grandparents immigrated here from Scotland. Her and I come from the same culture and are the same race. Again, if I misunderstood your post, I'm sorry, but I really don't understand what our race or culture has to do with anything." Commenter says, "Yeah, it sounds tacky as hell to me. Sorry, dude." Another commenter says, "So you invite people to this gimme party but not your wedding. Your fiancé is right, it's tacky as fuck. But even if it wasn't, shouldn't your fiancé's feelings supersede a tradition? Why can't you change it up? Compromise on the party, you guys provide the food and drink and only invite people you're inviting to your wedding." The commenter says, "You're choosing between holding to tradition and the comfort of your fiancé. She's calling it tacky, but I guarantee it makes her uncomfortable to ask her family and friends to attend the event." So it was over 6 months later, and says, "Update. My fiancé are having the biggest argument of our lives. She thinks I'm being tacky, but I think she's overreacting. So the update is that my 28 male, fiancé 27 female, and me didn't get married. I posted here 6 months ago about how we were having the biggest argument of our entire relationship. Back then I had no idea all the arguing and all the things I said would lead to this, but all the fighting and anger exposed the cracks in our relationship and things began to fall apart. Maybe our relationship wasn't as strong as I thought it was. I don't know. I regret the way I acted and the things I said. No matter how much we were fighting, I know at the end of the day, the breakup was ultimately my fault because of how I acted. There was a big divide between us because my ex-fiancée and her family and friends thought having a social/Jack and Jill before the wedding was tacky and the height of rudeness. Me, my family, and my friends thought having one was fine. The wedding was supposed to be on Saturday. Today, we would have been 4 days married and on our honeymoon somewhere, but instead, I'm trying to get over the pain of our breakup. I don't even see or talk to her now. No advice wanted. A commenter says to OP, not surprised this massive cultural difference broke you up. I worked at an American wedding venue for nearly a decade. I've literally attended hundreds of weddings and worked in planning of many more. I had never heard of using acquaintances to fundraise for newlywed life until your post. It's that much of a cultural difference. May you find your true match one day soon. Another commenter says 100% team ex-fiancé. What you're asking of her was extremely tacky and she made it abundantly clear that she wasn't comfortable. That should have been the end of the conversation. You made a conscious decision to disrespect the feelings of a woman who was meant to be your wife. That was the hill you chose to die on, and now it's time for the funeral. You brought this one on yourself. Commenter says, my man, you got battered in the comments 6 months ago. It seems like you should have listened to Reddit / your ex. Commiserations. I wish you happiness in the future. There were some comments talking below this about where the tradition comes from. One commenter said, okay, this is absolutely a thing in Manitoba, and really only in Manitoba. Nobody else has heard of it. They're actually super fun and are huge social events there. I've got a bunch of friends who met their significant others at a social, because they're basically just a dance party with cheap booze and good food, and you didn't have to really know the married couple. Legit, if you ever get a chance to go to one, you should, but even so, I wouldn't be comfortable hosting one in a different province. It's not a thing elsewhere, and would absolutely be perceived badly. OP could have had family and friends host one in his home province, and that would have been way more appropriate. And not commenting on how they dealt with it, or they should have done it or shouldn't have done it or anything like that, but just attending one of them actually sounds quite fun to me if I'm being quite honest. I get that it may not be for everyone, but I don't know. What do you guys make of this situation? Maybe you've attended one of these before. Let us know down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Throwaway Piss Drunk, who says, me, 23 female, with my sort of new boyfriend, got in a stupid drinking contest and peed the bed. I'm not really sure where to begin with this, and to be honest, I found this place by just Googling relationship advice, but here it goes. So over the weekend, I went out on a third date with a coworker I've had a crush on for a long time. We haven't made anything official, but I guess I'll call him my boyfriend, on a trip to a casino with a friend of his and his girlfriend. It's worth mentioning that I never met these people before this. It's also worth mentioning that everything before now has been basically a dream come true. We've had zero drama and it's like we're just always on the same wavelength. I know it's going to sound cliche, but for me, it's always been love at first sight with this guy. Instant butterflies, which makes remembering this past weekend about 1 billion times worse. When we got to the hotel and casino, the plan was pretty much to check in our room, hit the bars and then start gambling, which is pretty much what we did. My boyfriend's friend turned out to be a really chill guy. However, his girlfriend could not have been more different. She didn't bother to introduce herself to me, and when I tried to introduce myself, she interrupted me to say something to her boyfriend. From there on out, it was like she had it out for me. I'm not really sure what I did to piss her off, but she let me know I did. Everything out of her mouth directed towards me was either a put down towards my job, my education, my car, or a backwards compliment about my looks. My boyfriend did his fair share of teasing her back. I'm a sensitive person, so I wasn't handling her behavior at all well. Honestly wanted to cry most of the time, but in the end I made a stupid decision and got into something of an unspoken drinking contest with her. It all started when we all took a shot of Jack together, and my boyfriend mentioned how surprised he was I took it without flinching. Of course, his friend's girlfriend let me know that she could handle much stronger stuff without a problem. I know I'm an idiot for taking that kind of bait, and I should have mentioned that although I used to drink a fair amount and tolerating the taste is nothing, before this weekend I'd retired my drinking days and come down to about a beer a week if that. I'm sure anyone could put 2 and 2 together at this point and figure out that she and I started doing shots, working our way up to stronger and stronger stuff. What's more embarrassing than me falling for that shit from her is, I honestly remember my boyfriend telling me I should slow down, and me really getting a nasty attitude with him. To make a long story short, I ended up completely sloppy drunk in the casino, as was she, and he ended up having to half carry me back to our hotel room. I don't remember much after that other than him being way sweeter than anyone should be to someone who'd behaved like I had. He definitely helped me into some pajamas and we got into bed. I don't even know how to begin to explain this next part, but I came here for some real advice, so I guess I'll just go ahead with it. Around 2 AM I woke up hungover, and at first I wasn't even sure what exactly woke me up. but then I realized my pants were entirely soaked. I guess when I went to bed I must have been truly blackout because I managed to pee the entire bed, all over myself and worse, my boyfriend. I'm not sure how I didn't wake him up, honestly, it was that bad. To be fair, I've had this happen once in high school when I first started drinking, but I wasn't expecting it at all that night. I started crying almost immediately. Another thing I really regret. Not that holding my composure would have been much better at that point, but basically he woke up to both of us covered in a mess and me in tears, all after taking care of me earlier. Of course, because he's completely unreal and amazing, he reacted like no other guy would, and he immediately helped me out of bed and got us both in the shower. He even called the front desk for new sheets so I didn't have to talk to them. The entire time he kept reassuring me that it was just an embarrassing accident, and honestly, I went between calming down and sobbing more than twice. It was just too embarrassing for words. Still, I can't help but feel like he was absolutely just being nice because he's a nice person and he didn't want to make me feel any worse. The next morning, he said he had an emergency with work and had to cut the weekend short. It's probably for the best, considering the overall mood of the group after how me and his friend's girlfriend behaved. It felt like an excuse to leave though, and he just kinda quickly kissed me and dropped me back off at my place and left. Since then, he's been texting me just once asking how I'm feeling, but I haven't replied. I have no idea what to say. I'm honestly just mortified. I don't know anyone else who's had a third date go this horribly. I've cried a few times since thinking about it because I'm just so sure things at work will be awkward now and he's eventually going to dump me. I need to know what to say to him. I don't want to lose him. So if you made it this far, thank you for reading and any advice would be helpful. The boyfriend sounds really decent in this. He didn't get mad, he didn't shame you, didn't make a joke about it, didn't leave you to deal with it on your own. He helped you, reassured you, and sorted the situation, and tried to keep you from feeling worse than you already did. And I kind of feel like the worst thing you can do right now is just to leave him hanging and not replying to him, which you're currently doing. And I honestly think the best thing you can do right now is send him a message thanking him for everything he did that night for looking after you and apologizing for getting pulled into that mess and bringing him along with it. The commenter says to OP, this guy sounds like a super awesome person. I think he's honestly trying to give you space because he knows you're embarrassed. Be honest with him. Tell him that you feel incredibly embarrassed and honestly ashamed that you behave like that and it won't happen again. Tell him you absolutely appreciate everything he did for you and you hope you can make it up to him. Hopefully in the future, you guys can look back on this and laugh. The commenter says, quoting, what do I do from here? And then says, send him a message thanking him for taking care of you and apologizing for the trouble he went through on your behalf. Then ask if you can take him out to dinner to make it up to him. If he says no, you will still have said your thanks and won't have to message him again. If he says yes, arrange a nice dinner date for the two of you and insist on picking up the check at the end of the night. The last bit may not seem necessary, but it serves as a concrete resolution to this event. It gives you both a way to call it even and then leave it in the past as you move forward. So OP does come in with her update and says, so first of all, I want to thank everyone who commented. Even those of you who I think really got the wrong idea. A lot of things happened in a short period of time, but I'll try to make it make sense if I can. First of all, and possibly the most interesting, it turns out I'd actually met that girl before the night of the date. I mentioned her name to a friend from high school and she told me this girl was apparently on one of our rival swim teams from a different school. I don't want to think that someone could seriously be so petty over high school sports, but it makes sense why she didn't bother to introduce herself and seemed pissed when I tried. I really wasn't trying to be nasty. I don't know anyone else who expects someone to remember someone they've met like once and won against. Now onto what I guess probably most people are interested in. A few hours after I put this post up, he called me and figured not answering would look much worse than just putting up with what he had to say. Of course, he asked if the reason I hadn't texted back was because I was still embarrassed over what happened. I admitted that I was still really ashamed and disgusted with myself and my total lack of self-control the entire night. He laughed and also admitted he thought the whole thing was pretty high school drama level, makes sense, on both girls' parts. I had to tell him that honestly the entire reason I let her drag me to her level was because I really felt belittled and intimidated, and I'm still incredibly sorry and ashamed for acting like that. I know this doesn't excuse my behavior. I know I acted like a huge brat to everyone involved and I was no better than she was in that moment. I definitely shouldn't be drinking that much, so for those of you who said so, you are right. After I apologized for the 100th time for having an accident, he jokingly said that his mattress was too nice to ruin, and that he was getting a waterproof sheet or putting me on a 2-beer limit. Which of course, I had to ask if that meant he still wanted another date, and he didn't. He wanted to make the entire relationship official. Honestly, I couldn't believe it. But he told me he had been intending to before all this happened, and it hasn't changed his feelings. I'm super grateful to have someone so sweet. I still don't think this level of kindness would be everyone's reaction, although some of you must feel pretty amazing up on those high horses and forgiving. Maybe I overreacted by crying so much, but I've always been a little bit of a crybaby. I don't think I'm going to hit therapy for it just yet, but I think everyone who is concerned in that regard is very kind. Everyone makes mistakes though. Maybe not pee the bed level, but the comments are right. But anyway, yeah, sorry I couldn't reply to everyone personally. Got a lot more advice than I expected, but if you took the time to comment or even PM me, thanks a billion. TLDR, sweet official boyfriend is not angry I peed on him. I will watch my behavior from here on out. The commenter says, hey, there's probably no better way to find out that you have a great guy. Congrats you two. It's statistically unlikely to happen again, so at least there's that. Commenter says, get yourself a man who loves when you pee the bed. Slow clap. And one more comment who says, girl marked her territory for other girls to know, keep away. And what a lovely ending to what was a pee-based story. And he sounds like a proper good egg. And I really do hope that things did and do work out for them going forward. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today. And if you have a moment, please consider hitting that like, sharing with friends, family if you can. Absolutely no pressure though, of course. And just a huge thank you for being here today, and I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.